What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Podcast. We are here today to take a look at AEW Dynamite. We are officially doing the review show here. I will be posting a separate show. I did a TNA Slammiversary prediction show that was kind of impromptu, and I ended up going a little bit longer than I anticipated because, as you guys know, if you've seen me before and watch any of my content or anything like that, I get a little bit long-winded and I ramble and shit. So I ended up just stopping that recording to make that its own separate show to not make this one go incredibly long, especially if you're not interested in TNA. You don't have to listen and just kind of click through all that mumbo jumbo of me just rambling on. But yeah, I obviously definitely wanted to devote and spend some time on AEW Dynamite, from the classic match that we had on the opener to the Mariah May segment. So yeah, we're going to be getting into that here. But as always, thank you guys so much for checking out the show, for following me on Twitter at ASHMANNS. You can follow the show on Twitter as well at _. You can subscribe, follow, watch, like all that good stuff on YouTube. And feel free to comment as well. I appreciate all you guys who do comment out there and provide feedback, whether it's on your takes on my takes or anything like that. I really appreciate it. And it's fun for me to hear other people's opinions and to see where they think or where they think things are going. And yeah, to me, no feedback is wrong, right? Unless you're just being an asshole, then I'll just call you an asshole and that's it. So, but getting on to the show here, I'm going to try to keep it brief, and I am on a little bit of a time crunch. I do have to head out to my part-time here in a little bit, which sucks, I know, but gotta pay the bills, right? So I'm not gonna go detailed, obviously, like hold for hold, especially since this first match was an hour long. Well, 2 seconds shy of an hour. But I do want to at least touch on a few things from the match here and give my take. Right, that's the whole point of the show. But I do know a commenter, someone who checked out the one of my streams from last week. I think it was Bebe underscore 316. I believe that was the handle. They mentioned that they were going to be at this show live. For I think it was in Little Rock, Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken. Let me scroll back up to the top here. Yeah, Little Rock, Arkansas, at the Simmons Bank Arena. So yeah, if I got that handle right, little Bebe underscore 316, I believe it is. My YouTube isn't ironically pulling up right here, my comment section at least. But yeah, if you ended up going, dude, let me know if you watched this stream. Definitely want to know and hear from your live in person perspective, right? There's a lot of things that we don't see being at home, and different views that we don't see, and different things that we just don't catch, and different things that we don't feel and experience. So yeah, man, I'm definitely excited to hear your take being there live, and you definitely were in for a treat, and you got to witness a classic. So I'm happy for you there, man, and I hope you had a good time and safe, all that good stuff. And let me know too if you are watching this, if you were in the area where MJF and Ospreay ended up going out into the fans. That was pretty cool. So yeah, we'll get in right to the show here. MJF opened up the show. He was the first one making his entrance. He ended up doing this high, and I'm reading from pwtorch.com. So shout out to Wade Keller. He does a breakdown, which a lot of people do, right? Of, well, not a lot of people, but he does a breakdown of the entire match, like almost move for move, damn near. He gets a lot of different little details and different perspectives and different things that you may miss. So I just recommend checking it out if you want to read, if you like reading articles, if you like to read, if you're one of those people that still likes to read, definitely check out his site. I obviously recommend it. And he does live uh post shows as well. He does them on YouTube now, which is pretty cool, after Raw, SmackDown, and AEW as well. So definitely check him out on YouTube if you haven't already. He's been doing this shit for decades. So, and if you haven't heard of PW Torch, I don't know how you heard of me, because like I'm just like this little ant out here in the big Bugs Life world, right? So, especially compared to PW Torch. So definitely recommend checking them out if you haven't. But anyway, I just wanted to give credit to where I'm reading and kind of getting my little quick, I guess, tidbits from. And also just to get all this shit out of the way, if my dogs bark, I apologize. They're in the room here with me. It's early in the day, so we may get some packages and stuff, or if not, me and the neighbors. So just want to apologize in advance if you hear any dogs. But getting back to the show here, MJF opened up the show. with his entrance, and he got into the ring and he did this, as we called it, a hybrid crotch chop slash jerk off hand gesture to someone in the crowd, which solidifies and confirms that the old MJF is back. And again, I'm going to try not to get too much off on a tangent, but I just wish that we would have stuck with the MJF bad guy throughout his entirety with AEW at this point. I wish we never even went to a babyface run. And I'm going to save that because I want to really get into the details of that and my thoughts of why on a different show. But yeah, man, it just he's such a good piece of shit heel. He's such a good asshole that it's like, man, like I really wish you wouldn't have gone through that babyface role just because I don't know, man. Maybe it makes this one more impactful, but to me, I just would have held off on it. But he does his normal like crotch chop, like jerk off, like fuck you to the crowds, all that stuff. And then Ospreay comes out, and as a whole with this match, what it really did for me is it really made me appreciate and really realize how much of a star Will Ospreay is. And I obviously, right? Like we all know he's a big deal. He's one of the best in the world right now, if not the best in the world right now in the ring. Um, but something about tonight, him interacting with the fans, the making his way to the ring, just how interactive he is with them, and just how natural it feels, and not phony like a phony baby face like someone out there just like pandering to the fans or anything like that. He just like getting a table, for instance, right? Not just setting up a table just because the fans want you to. He has a real connection with the fans. And for whatever reason, it really stood out to me tonight. And then, of course, the spot later on where they made their way out into the fans and, excuse me, he held MJF kind of back like this and had MJF's chest and Ospreay as he was going up, and it was once if you know to look for it, right? As they're walking up the stairs and the fans, Ospreay motioned to a little girl who was standing not too far from them to like, come over here, and he motioned at him, to hit MJF in the chest. So she starts doing like little punches to MJF on his chest, and then as she's doing that, MJF flicks her off, which was just so fucking great. And to me, like that's a moment that girl's gonna have for her life. And I think her father ended up getting a video of it as well. So that was just really cool to me. And I do understand where some people are coming from. Like, it could possibly set the wrong example for other fans that, oh, it's a fair game then. And like, bro, no. Like, this girl, she was what, 6, 7, 8 years old? Maybe. I don't think she could have been older than 10. I'm not really a good judge of kids, so I don't know. But she was a young kid, right? And first of all, Ospreay clearly told her it was okay. And again, like if you're watching from home, like you could have very easily missed it if you looked away for a second, or weren't looking directly at that particular part of the frame. But to me, if you're a grown as human being, if you're I want to say I don't even like just common sense tells you like even when wrestlers go out into the fans like you don't see little kids just running up to them and just hitting them so I guess long story short I don't think this is going to be like the floodgates are open and now like oh all fans are going to go over there and just start punching the wrestlers and shit like that. I think common sense is going to tell you you're not going to fucking touch the wrestler, right? And if you do then you're going to either get your ass beat or you're going to get arrested. So either way it's going to be a shitty night for you, so just don't do it, right? And so I don't think that's a big deal. I get where you could possibly have like an argument against, but to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. Now, if the girl just did it on her own, then yeah, that's a different story. But Ospreay clearly invited her to come do it. It was a cool little moment. MJF played it up great. He flicked her off, which I just fucking like. That was one of my favorite moments of the match. It was just something so simple, but it really made a big like. It really I guess emphasized rather MJF's character, and it really made sense for his character. That's how his character would react, and I like that he didn't just like cartoonishly sell it, like like act like the girl's like actually like hurting him. He was just like fuck you to the girl. I thought it was great. Fuck them kids, right? So yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a fun moment. So I didn't get bothered by it at all. So yeah, to me it is what it is. But throughout the match, we obviously I don't know why I keep saying obviously too, but throughout the match we got moments where Ospreay was selling his shoulder, and there was one point where as well they went into the picture in picture moment, right? I know that's not the correct term, but whatever. I forget what it's called. I can't think of it right now, and I don't want to bore you guys with it. But it was a moment where they were in commercial. break, picture in picture. We'll stick with that for now. And you could see the medical team coming up there and adjusting his shoulder, and you could see them do like pretty much like pop the shoulder back in place type thing. And then by the time the commercial came back, Ospreay was good to go. So just little things like that. It gives you that sports type feel aspect, and especially in the NBA and NFL, if there's obviously they're not expecting, I'm going to try to say obviously, but they're not expecting injuries to happen, right? So when it does, they need to take a commercial break. So that's normally what happens when an athlete gets hurt. They go to commercial break, or if an athlete is hurt, they choose to take a commercial break at that time. The medical team address it, and then they come back and resume the match or the show or the game after that point. So I just little things like that. I really like. On the flip side, I was at work when this match was happening live. So during one of my my 15-minute break, I turned it on. They were still going on, and I turned it on right as they were in the fan. So I was like, was this like a no DQ match? Because Ospreay threw MJF into a trash can, had him like head first in the trash can, just like feet in the air type thing. Now, granted, I don't believe they did any like chair shots or anything crazy like that, but they did have a table spot. So I was like, did this get turned into a no DQ match? But it didn't, and I guess the referee, they said a couple times, was just allowing leniency by not counting them out. And to me, like, I don't want to nitpick, right? Because the match itself was just so well told, and it was a very beautiful match, especially for the length of it. But to me, just little things like that as a whole, rather, is what kind of gets me with AEW, and with WWE as well, just with wrestling in general. But I think I noticed it more in AEW just because it's like we've clearly been outside the ring for longer than 10 seconds. Like now we're all the way in the fans, like walking up steps, and like just like what are we doing? And yes, it's a title match, and so the referee is gonna, like the commentator said, allow more leniency. But to me, I guess I'm just too much of a nerd and too much like I don't know, man. Like follow the rules, like follow, and not even necessarily follow the rules, because I'm not like a goody two shoe, definitely not. But it's just like, why is it okay in some matches and then not okay in other matches? I guess is my point, unless it's specifically stated no DQ, no countouts, stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe I should assume, since it's a championship match, that we are gonna not have countouts. Like the referee isn't gonna just call the match because of a countout. So maybe I should. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But there was a few moments in the match as well where MJF did things to piss off Daniel Garcia, right, and to kind of instigate him. He did his little hip thrust dance thing into the camera and said, "That's how you hit a DDT," and called him a piece of shit, something like that. So this MJF is just perfect. I loved it. Um, and I love that we had truly defined roles, like character roles in this match too. Like we all know we're supporting and cheering and loving Ospreay, and we hate MJF and he's a piece of shit. And that's how it should be. And to me, it just makes it so much easier and so much more enjoyable and so much more engaging, because I can confidently boo MJF. And I don't know why I just thought about it now, but I love that he didn't bring back the scarf. Yes, the scarf is still on his Titantron, like his video display. It's a black and gray scarf that's in the center video wall, but he's not wearing the scarf. And I liked it, and I liked that he didn't come out in the leather jacket. It was like a regular warm up zip up jacket, but I believe. But yeah, like I kind of like what he's doing with his character visually as well. Um, but there again was a moment in the match where Ospreay went for the Tiger Driver 91, and he was hesitant. And to me, a lot of people are very strong 50-50. Either some people hate that he doesn't, or that he keeps going back to it and doesn't use it. And they just think it's stupid. Some people like that they're building up the hype and the importance of the role. And I lean a little bit more in that route. I get where the other arguments are coming from, in the sense that your point is to win the match and to do what you got to do to beat your opponent. But to me, in the professional wrestling mindset, yes, it is your focus point and your goal to win the match and to win every match you're in. But if you look at it in like mat wrestling, like you're not necessarily looking to go out there and like snap a leg or to do anything crazy like that. You're going out there to overpower and dominate your opponent. So to me, I can see why someone like Ospreay would be a little hesitant, because it shows as a babyface what kind of good character he has, and what kind of good heart that he has. Like, he saw what it did to Danielson, and yes, it didn't. He was retired for what, 2 weeks, but he saw how much it hurt him and impacted him, and he doesn't want to do that to someone. And that's why when we get to the point where he is, if it's his next world heavyweight championship match and he needs to win the match, he's gonna pull that out. He's gonna have that killer instinct, and he's gonna pull out and do what he's got to do to be victorious and to win that title. And I think by having him lose the match here, which is what we're gonna get to now, and I think minus one thing, how they told the ending of the story was so perfectly done as well. Again, minus one thing, so maybe perfectly isn't the right adjective there, or adverb. But the way that they showed that Ospreay was still vulnerable, and that MJF is still a piece of shit, and that it came down to a referee bump, which was the part that I was just kind of to me. And then that's what caused Ospreay to lose his title, and I think this is the starting point for him to kind of go on his reclamation tour type thing, if you want to call it that, and his journey back to being the top guy and the success, he being Ospreay, and him being like, man, I've lost the past X amount of matches, kind of like what Danielson was saying, like, I've lost the last 3, we'll say, big matches that I've been in, like, what's going on, like, I need to refocus. And that could be his journey back to a big match at All In. Yes, we don't have that much time, but you got to figure he's going to be involved in something big, you know. So I think that's what it, because this was for the title. So now MJF. So the ending of the match, I think it was MJF who pushed Ospreay into the referee, and the referee just ended up like falling onto the third bottom rope and just like acting like he was dead. And then all of a sudden, 20 seconds later, he's back there counting for the 3 count, and it's just like, I don't know. Again, we're gonna try to stay focused here, but I just think that. Oh, and then after that, MJF punched Ospreay with a Dynamite Diamond ring, got the 1, 2, 3, and I like that they did that, because it again solidifies that Ospreay could have possibly beaten MJF if MJF didn't cheat to win, and MJF knew, shit, the time is literally counting down. I need to do something to be victorious, and he did what he needed to do to win. He used that Dynamite Diamond ring that we've seen so many times. And now he's the international champion. So I almost forgot too that it was for the title until he held up the title. I was like, oh shit, that's right, it was for the title. But again, it's the best match ever on Dynamite, possibly. It was. It did, and it accomplished a lot of what it needed to, and it felt almost like the culmination of the feud, not the beginning of the feud. It felt like one of those matches where it's like we've been building, and bam, like we've had match, and this is like the third of the trilogy type thing. And it wasn't. It was just the beginning. So I don't know if we're gonna run it back directly at All In. But we gotta do something with Ospreay, right? And I don't see us getting MJF versus Daniel Garcia. But then again, we do have Pac out there as well, who said he wanted his moment at Wembley. I don't really want to see a triple threat. Like, I want to see a singles match. So I'm not really sure where we go there. And I like it, like I'm good with kind of holding out and seeing how things go and how things play out. But I hope I get it too, right? We need ratings for Dynamite, the TV deal, all that stuff. But I hope we didn't just pull the trigger here just for TV ratings, and then we're kind of not scrambling, but kind of like doing a little bit lesser for All In. But the next thing we had the learning tree on there as well, which I'm really not going to get into. We had the Young Bucks and Okada backstage. Apparently Okada is infatuated with Mercedes Moné now. I do like the interaction that we had with Mercedes and the EVPs and Okada. And it was kind of comical, right? Okada thinks that Mercedes is hot, and he was like fanning himself. But man, like, to me, I'm just gonna say it, guys. Like, if this was the Okada that we were getting in WWE, like if he had signed with WWE and this is what they were having him do, as opposed to him doing it in AEW, I think there would be a lot of people out there being like, "Oh, WWE is ruining Okada, this, that, and a third." But it's apparently fine in AEW, so I would just be very interested to see what a lot of AEW diehards and those fans that only love AEW and think WWE is the shits, what they have to say about that. So let me know. And again, no knock. Like, I'm not saying it would be different or you're even wrong, but I would have, if going back a year ago, if you would have told me Okada was in AEW and this is what he was doing, I would have been like, "Are you sure you said AEW and not WWE? Or are you sure?" So I don't know. And again, I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong with him, and this can be a slow build to him really like doing a turn and a face turn and solidifying himself as the face of AEW. And right now, like it is a little bit crowded at the top, so you don't necessarily need him up there. And I'm not even advocating for that, but I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't have expected him to be like fanning himself in the back because Mercedes Moné did her little dance. But in the same token, too, like I thought it was funny, or not funny, but it was kind of comical, you know, like whatever, like it showed character, right? And he's building his character, and he's becoming more likable in some sense. But that's why it's kind of confusing to me too. So I don't know. I don't really know what we're going for, but I liked that little integration as well of the men and the women backstage, and your champions as well. And I liked how they played off the CEO interacting with the EVPs to make sure the DMD wasn't backstage. So all these abbreviations and shit, it was whatever. It was fine. Excuse me. But we did have Mercedes Moné defending her TBS title against Nyla Rose. They need to do more with Nyla, man. Nyla is being criminally underused, in my opinion. But she did retain the title, obviously, in 9 minutes. Obviously, again. But I like the match. I like the little things. I like Mercedes as a heel. I like the little things that she does and the size difference. Her playing off Nyla's her size, and Nyla at one point saying, "Are you out of your mind?" when I think she's trying to like a suplex or something to her. So, and just Mercedes' facial reactions. She is such a good heel. So I enjoyed it for things like that. But getting on to my favorite part of the show, as crazy as it may sound, with the match that we got, was Mariah May. This woman is fucking incredible. The way she came out there, the segment started with Toni Storm's black and white entrance, and Mariah, or what we thought was Toni Storm, running out there in that long, it was a black mesh, flappy, open thing, like robe type thing. Clearly I don't have one. Dressing up as Toni Storm, and the look, you would be like, what the fuck? Like for a split second, I was like, oh, that Tony's back. Like, are you serious? They're doing this already? And it was Mariah May. I was like, this woman is just fucking incredible. Her cosplay is next level. So she makes her way down there to Toni Storm's entrance, and then halfway down the entrance ramp, it stops, and then you're just hearing the fan reactions and things like that. She gets into the ring, she grabs the microphone, she doesn't say anything at first, and then one of my other favorite moments in the night, we hear Tony Schiavone say, "Okay, speak, bitch." And I just thought that was fucking great. Tony Schiavone got pissed off and he said, "Okay, speak, bitch," into the headset. Clearly he wasn't like, it wasn't him in the ring with her saying it to her face. It was him being annoyed, and him hearing, um, or him just being annoyed at the fact that Mariah May did such a dastardly thing to Toni Storm, and I liked it. I liked it. And then she goes on to say, I'll just read what she says here. She says, "Let's be honest, you all saw it coming. We all saw it coming, except for Toni Storm." She said the question shouldn't be why, but rather what took her so long. Honestly, I didn't think it would last this long either. I just wanted to see how far it would go. She was having so much fun with it. She said that she decided it'd be better to kill the horse in front of as many people as possible rather than take it out back behind the barn, in reference to her pulling the trigger, pun intended, on Toni Storm last week and just beating her to a bloody pulp then, as opposed to turning on her at All In. So I liked that little acknowledgement there. She said she has been Toni Storm, and now she could be so much more. Fans started cheering for Toni, but she said she never loved Toni Storm more than when she was on her knees, bleeding and screaming her name. That was your greatest performance, and she said her greatest performance would be at All In, because now all elite wrestling is all about Mariah. And then she dropped to the mat on her back and wiggled around and rubbed the canvas, kind of like Toni Storm would do. And I loved that because to me, that visual was a great visual and a great representation of her just basking in Toni Storm's spotlight and her presence, and just her just baking in everything that is Toni Storm, just rubbing it in her face, just rubbing the Mariah May presence all over Toni Storm's presence, right? And just really just saying, like, this is what you are, this is what you love, this is who your character was, and I'm just completely disrespecting it. This is my ring now. I am a better you than you are, and I'm taking over now. Now it's not all about Toni Storm or anything. It's going to be all about Mariah going forward. And next week we get the official debut of the Glamour Mariah May. And so I just love it. I love the explanation. I despise the fans that feel like they have to chant what. It's just so overdone now. But the next thing that I wanted to get to before we wrap up here is the Swerve Strickland versus Okada match. This obviously set up the official Blood and Guts match. This match, it was okay. I think once this match does run it back and we get an official match between the two, it's going to be much better. This ended in a DQ in about 12 minutes. We had a whole bunch of people run out to the ring, right? We had Mark Briscoe, because official Team AEW versus Team Elite. We have Mark Briscoe and the Acclaim, and now with Darby Allin, with, of course, Swerve Strickland facing off against the Elite. So you have Jack Perry, the Young Bucks, and then Okada. So people are also talking about, the Darby Allin ascension from the top. Apparently there's reports that they got clearance, Tony Khan did, from Martha Hart before, and that's obviously the most important thing, right? But and did it look cool? Yeah, but it's just one of those things where you don't necessarily need to do it, especially so close from the Owen Hart tournament. So I don't know. It was fun, but it just wasn't maybe necessarily needed. But I think Darby Allin makes total sense being on Team AEW. I think the Acclaim do not. Yes, they've been with AEW since the jump, so in that essence, it does make sense. But it's a blood and guts match. Like, to me, it just seems kind of weak. Team AEW, in my opinion. Do I think it's gonna be a good match? Yeah, I think it's gonna be bloody, and I think Mark Briscoe, his character makes sense involvement wise, but to me, it's just kind of missing that star power. No offense. So I think they're gonna have a lot of work in store for them. I think it's gonna be a fucking crazy match again with Mark Briscoe and Darby Allin and Swerve Strickland involved in that match. I think it's gonna be crazy. Part of me is wondering if we get some type of Hangman interference next week. Again, it's blood and guts, so the whole point of it is being inside of a cage, but we all know they break outside of the cage and do crazy shit. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I as a whole, I think this show was okay. It obviously was carried by the first hour of the show with that match, and then I really enjoyed the Mariah May segment. The main event was kind of okay to me, but I it did its job in setting up next week's show. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to hear what you guys have to say and what you guys think about the show. Again, Bebe316, if you're out there and you are watching this show, thank you again, and let me know what you thought being on site. As always, guys, thank you for checking out the show and following and supporting. I just really appreciate it. Again, you know where to follow me at. And until next time, guys, and feel free, obviously, to let me know on Twitter as well. If it's easier for you to kind of tweet me on Twitter, you don't have to comment on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, that's totally cool too. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for all the support and enjoy some wrestling. Be safe out there.